Hello, business building warrior. This is Silent Sales Machine Radio, the podcast that brings you hundreds of interviews with students who have succeeded using the strategies talked about on this show. That's right. We interview the students who learn from us. They talk about their success, which creates more success. It's a flywheel of success around here. Pretty cool concept, right? Well, we're the only show in e-commerce that does that, to my knowledge. And we're so glad that you're part of the show today. If this is the first episode you've ever heard, I've got really good news for you. After you hear this episode, which I know you're going to love, you're going to want to scroll back in time and listen to a bunch of other interviews with the successful students from our community. And what do they all have in common? All the students that you hear, hundreds of them at this point, that you hear interviewed on this show have something in common. And that is they jumped into our Amazon seller training course. They began to grow a business. And they built a successful, beautiful business that they then came on our show and talked about. Our course is called the Proven Amazon Course, and you can see a link to that along with a lot of other great resources, most of which are free, some of which have a very low price tag. Our Proven Amazon course, it's $39 a month. You get the whole library day one. You can turn it off anytime if you don't want it any longer. It's kind of like signing up for a Netflix library of everything you'll ever need to succeed in e-commerce, especially with Amazon. So everything from the brand new, newbie-friendly content that helps you go from knowing nothing to making your first sale, and all the way up to the highest end content in the industry from multiple seven-figure sellers who've been in our community for quite some time. It's all in there. And for one low price per month, you get everything that our community produces. We've got a leadership team, about 100 of us, who have contributed to the content in the Proven Amazon course. Be a great next step for you once you're convinced that this is the community that you want to tie yourself in with. So you go to silentjimdotcom, you'll see a link to the Proven Amazon course. You'll see a link to our free Facebook group where we just passed 78,000 members, making us one of the largest in the world, but I would say most active and certainly newbie-friendly communities in all of e-commerce. We'd love to have you come be a part of that group. There's a link there, and the Proven Amazon course. There's a link to that, and our coaching program. Lots of good stuff there. But let's jump into today's conversation. I'm going to be talking in just a moment with Jesse McDermott. He's a guy that's been in our community for a while. He's been to our events in the past. He's built a beautiful business, and it's not without its ups and downs, as you'll hear. Everyone has their ups and down stories in business. It doesn't matter what the business is. But he's built a beautiful business, and he's used the REPLENS model that we talk about around here all the time, the Amazon model where you help fill the underserved shelf space at Amazon's hundreds of warehouses. It's a wide open business opportunity from our vantage point. There's challenges and pain points, sure, but when you consider that almost half of all shopping in the United States online any given day is done on Amazon, people shopping the hundreds of warehouses around the country, there's a lot of underserved shelf space in those warehouses selling everyday boring items that you could go buy at Walmart or Target or any number of retail stores online. You could get into wholesale, sure, but not necessary. Our guest today, Jesse's never done wholesale. He just uses retail level products and pricing and sends the product into Amazon. And he's built many months, he's hit $80,000 and $90,000 per month. Now, right now, his business is going through a few changes. He shares that with us, a couple challenges, but he's built a beautiful, stable foundation of a business. And he talks about some of the other opportunities that he's getting into now as a result of this stable foundation that he's built. So we're all about multiple income streams around here. We're all about using the internet creatively to launch and grow beautiful businesses. And we're so glad that you're along for the ride on today's episode. Hey, we'd love to have you hang out in our community completely free. Come check it out. I mentioned our Facebook group, 78,000 of us, a very active group. If this show resonates with you and you don't want to spend any money, but you really want to start to get a feel for what this group is all about, I'd encourage you, jump in there. We've got 2,000 success posts in that Facebook group, along with everyday, very real, very raw conversations with people who are doing the business models we teach. When they hit a struggle, they come to the group. We tackle it together, and then they go off and start making money again. It's a beautiful Facebook group, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. One last thing I'll mention, then I'll bring on Jesse. Circle these dates on your calendar. May 29, 30, and 31st of 2025. That's right. Next year is going to be here very soon. The last 3 days of May, we're going to go to Orlando, Florida, right near SeaWorld. We're going to have a conference there. We did it last year, the same place. It was such a great arrangement, such great room rates at a beautiful location. We're going to do it again next year, May 29, 30, and 31st of 2025. Join us in Orlando. The website is 3 words, theprovenconference.com. We can go there and get details. All right, let's jump over and spend some time getting to know Jesse McDermott.
All right, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to diving into your story, Jesse. If you're ready to go, man, let's get into it.
Yeah, I first got into e-commerce when I was a senior in college. It was like March, a couple months before I was going to graduate, and I decided that I didn't want to get a job and I had to figure something out.
What'd you study?
I studied psychology, and that was kind of the crossroads. I started looking for jobs, and I realized that if I wanted a good career, I was most likely going to have to go back to school, which was just not, I did not want to do. And I kind of knew that the whole time. And I don't know why. I just didn't think ahead. So I started a business. I opened an LLC in March of that year. That's March of 2022. And I
Oh, you're
started,
young, man. You're super young.
yeah, I'm 25.
Look at you, man. That's good. So this
So
is all just a couple of years ago. All right.
yeah, this is pretty recent. I went the drop shipping route.
Oh,
I
I'm
started
sorry.
it.
That's a
Yeah,
rough start.
I started my own website, and I took a course with a different group of people. Was like calling suppliers and trying to get their products up on my website. It's funny because I remember the first podcast episode I listened to. You were like 2 tips: don't make your own website and don't drop ship. And I was
And you're
like,
like, no.
I was like, oh, it was like right in the transition period before I started Amazon. And I was like, oh no.
Well,
But
I've actually, Jesse, I've got in one of the chapters in my book, of the Silent Sales Machine book, which since I mentioned it, people can get it free, silentjimdotcom/free11, latest version, is all the stuff you shouldn't do. I had one guy on the podcast, it's been a year or so ago. He's like, I first read that book and I had literally done everything on that list. So there's people out there who,
yeah, that's how I felt a little bit.
all the mistakes you can make.
Yeah. So then we did, me and my partner, who about 2 months into the website business, I asked my partner Noah, who he came in with me on that. We did that for about 7 months, and we probably made 2 sales, I think, in 7 months, and we were paying for advertising on Google, and it was just wasting a lot of money. And then fast forward, I actually was just Googling like Amazon book, and I stumbled onto Jimmy Smith's book. Like it was, there was tens and twenties of them, and I just picked one
Yeah.
and
Wow. Random.
started listening. Yeah, I started listening to his audiobook, and that pointed me to the community. And I just started. Me and my partner just started following his methodology. This is like November 2022, so
Okay.
we actually weren't like we were planning on doing both, like the website and Amazon, and then our Google Ads account got suspended as we started seeing a little bit of, our first sale on Amazon, and we were kind of just like, all right, let's just ditch that and go full Amazon. By that point, we had, gotten into the community.
So you went all in
Um,
on replens then, just for the listeners.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like first couple days, we're in Walmart and we're looking up stuff.
Right.
We were probably scanning stuff at first, doing all
Sure.
the newbie stuff. And then around like from January to May, we started sourcing, a lot, finding some products, and we probably got to like 10,000 a month, which we felt really happy with. We just found it really hard to scale. We weren't finding enough products. And then we were going to do bundles. We kind of fell into like shiny object syndrome, which was our biggest, flaw in the beginning. Is we kind of, we got the proven bot sourcing and we were using that, but we didn't go like all in. And then we got brand registered and we're going to do bundles, but we didn't really, go all in. We were kind of just like jumping around. And then we decided like, okay, we need some direction. So we got a coach in August of 2023. So that's like 8 months into our Amazon journey, which is funny because it feels like it was so long, but it really wasn't that long. And we got paired up with Grant Douglas. Shout out to Grant.
Great coach.
Great coach, great guy. And basically it was funny because like we were like right there, and he showed us like a couple little tweaks, a couple little ways to like we didn't even a couple funny things. We didn't even have like the keep a chart on Amazon. We've been doing it for 8 months, and like we didn't even know you could do that. Like we
Yeah.
had keep
It's a Chrome extension. Turn
yeah,
it
Chrome
on.
extension. You have like get that. It makes it so much easier not having to open up Keepa for every product.
Right.
And this is the funniest thing. We were bubble wrapping every item, like every multi-pack. Like we didn't even know poly bags existed,
Mm.
which like I don't know how, like just this complete lapse of knowledge. I don't know how that happened, but every multi-pack we had, which was basically like all of our inventory, we were bubble wrapping it together. So it was just taking us probably 10, 15 times longer to pack stuff, and it would normally take.
Yeah. Yeah. Those little tips, you try to cut corners and learn on your own. Like, I'm going to save some money. I'm not going to pay anyone, and I'm just going to learn to figure this out. And you look over your shoulder, at all the time wasted and mistakes made that could have been avoided. And it's expensive figuring this stuff out on your own.
Yeah, it
It's-
was that
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, it was a little bit of ego in there, like, oh, we can do it ourselves because we knew about the coaching program. And yeah, other stuff too, like we were selling something that was a lot of our sales in like March, and then we got a IP complaint, and we lost like, 70% of our inventory, and we, didn't even know that could happen. And then this was April, we lost more of our inventory because of meltable, which we, melt. You can't from April to October,
October.
you can't sell stuff that's considered
Chocolate and that sort of
meltable by
thing. Yeah.
Amazon. Yeah.
Hey.
And we lost another, big chunk of our inventory because we didn't know that was a thing because we started in November.
Right.
So yeah, it was a lot of mistakes just based on lack of information. And we kind of got in a meeting with Grant, and he was just like, yeah, I do this, this, and this. And it just allowed us on a path, mainly doing storefront stalking, sourcing method, going to other people's stores, sourcing that way. And then we kind of fell into our niche. Like we did a lot of groceries. Probably about 80% of our inventory was from Walmart, the other 20 from Target. It
Yep.
was just a lot of, normal stuff, normal grocery stuff. And yeah, from there we scaled up. We had one of our biggest problems was capital for a while because, we're so young. And we have a lack of credit. It was hard for us to get a business credit card. So we were just kind of buying and ramping up that way.
Waiting for Amazon to pay you, which means you have to wait for it to sell, then wait for Amazon to
Yeah.
process everything. And yeah, just slow churn if you don't have any outside capital.
Yeah, that was another little tip is like Graham was like, why don't you just take your payments every day? Like we were waiting the 2 weeks
Right.
to get the payment. And he was like, you can take it every day, And we were like, okay, I guess you're right. So that helped. And from there, yeah, we just kept plugging along, and we kept scaling. Q4 was really good for us in 2023. Saw our first, 50,000, which was our 50,000 a month, which was our goal for a long time in like November or December. And then we went back down a little bit. We definitely fluctuated a lot of capital issues. And then we finally got a business credit card in March of 2024. And that allowed us to really scale up and really just buy everything that we wanted to buy.
Were you still
Still
mainly
all-
Walmart, Target? At that
Yeah,
point?
still all refunds. A lot of it was, and I know this big thing, when you're starting out is to, the inch deep, mile wide method,
Mhm.
which we follow. I mean, we test 5 whenever we test an ASIN, but we started like really seeing a lot of sales with certain products. And a lot of it was just being able to scale those up to a point where, we have a good amount there. We could keep up with sales velocity. So it was a lot of just that. Yeah, and then fast forward to today, we they're doing the same. We did our max was about 85, 90,000 in a month at around probably 12 to 15%. And recently we've been one of the people affected by the new ASIN policy, new bundling policy for multi-packs, and we're just trying to see how that shapes us out.
Gotcha. How many ASINs are in your catalog?
We probably have like 350 to 400 that are active. I would say, the 80/20 rule, I think probably 50 of them are the bulk of what's doing the numbers. A lot of stuff we usually wait, like, products go through tanks and they come back, and we
Right. They always
usually
do. Yeah.
yeah, that was a big thing we were doing in the beginning too, is like, if something tanked, we would freak out, and it was like, we gotta liquidate it, we can't lose more money.
Right.
And then we kind of just figured, Grant told us, and they go through cycles. And so we just started like holding on to stuff and just waiting, and it would always come back up eventually, or at the very worst, we could break even. I mean, we've been doing this 2 years now, and I still don't think we've lost money on something, which I
Wow.
think is really, really amazing. Like, we
It is.
just can always break even. I maybe like a little bit, but never
Right.
like big losses.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
just to interject a thought here, that's a big deal. The statement you just made is a really, really big deal, because that's the system we intended to build from day one when we put this together. Was we want to build a machine, e-commerce business that's legitimate, legal, ethical, can scale on a good, solid platform, where your worst case scenario is you put $1 in, you get $1 out later, break even. Right? That's your worst case, because we're weighting in nice and slow. So that's what REPLENS is. It's the most conservative, low risk, lowest learning curve, highest odds of success business model that I've ever seen in my 22 years, which is why we teach it. So I love that you illustrate it that way, Jesse, that even the stuff that kind of turns out to be a dud, if you hold it and it had a good keep it chart, you're going to get your money back. You've got inventory that has value, right?
yeah, and I mean, even a small loss would, wouldn't be.
Negligible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is really great in that way, and I think
Yeah.
that's what drew us to it.
Yeah.
Was
And what
that
we're seeing too is, even if, let's say Amazon does totally pull the rug on you, like, hey, you can't sell this on our platform. There's no chance for it to come back up. All right. That's why Walmart and eBay exist, little inconvenience, but we see a lot of people doing that right now.
Yeah, and
Pivoting.
they gave us Amazon's given a 30-day grace period too, which I think is really they don't have to do that, like, at all. So I think that's really great too. Like, okay, like, we're changing this, but we're not just gonna, leave you out to dry. You can
Mhm.
liquidate it, you can get your money back.
Yeah.
I recently did get a Walmart account up and running. That's what I'm trying to do now with this. The new policy really kind of set me back, and made me realize that I talked to you a couple weeks ago on the phone, and you were just saying that the name of the e-commerce game is pivoting and diversification,
Mhm.
which just another, add the mistake to the pile, just going all in on this one thing. We got really used to it. We got really good at it. Like, we're this niche, we're multi-packs, we're grocery, we source this, we know how to do this. But then, this one thing happens, and you kind of just are in a bad situation. So now I'm trying to focus on, setting Walmart up. I'm planning to talk to Nathan about proven product partnering, brand management.
Huge opportunity there.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really big opportunity right now, especially with everything happening. I think brands are gonna feel it, and they're not even gonna know what's going on.
Yep.
And
Especially with the whole
probably,
vendor central thing. You up to speed on that?
maybe I don't think so.
Yeah. Good chance to bring the listeners along for a quick insight into what's going down with Amazon right now. So most of us as sellers know exactly what Seller Central is. That's you pull it up on your phone. That's the app, shows you the stats, how your business is doing, and that's how you interact with Amazon. There's another platform they have where brands sell direct to Amazon. It's called Vendor Central. And let's say, like my friend Mike owns a coffee company, and he sends pallets to Amazon through Vendor Central. So Amazon is actually paying him for his inventory on Vendor Central, and he's sending his brand straight to Amazon. And they've got a whole bunch of brands that Amazon does that with. What
And then
Amazon's doing,
Amazon sells it.
Amazon sells it on their platform. It's their inventory now. Kind of the same thing you might do with, like, say, a Walmart. It's like, hey, we're going to get a whole bunch of your inventory. We're going to deal direct with the brand and buy a whole bunch of it at a time, right? So that represents, I don't know what the percentages are. Like the reseller activity that we do, the stuff we teach, that's 35, 40% of all sales on Amazon every day. Then the vendor central stuff is maybe 15, 20%. I don't know, something like that, where they're buying direct from the brand. And that's the stuff they'll do with the big brand. What's happening right now, why there's a huge opportunity for us, little guys, is Amazon's going through their client database and saying, you're not big enough, you're not big enough, you're not big enough. And they're kicking people out of vendor central, just kicking these brands out. They're throwing these brands out in the cold, basically saying, yeah, you can still sell here, but you got to go through Seller Central. You can't just send us pallets anymore and, we'll pay you for them. You got to actually make the sales to make money. You got to make the sales yourself to make money. So these are brands that already have established momentum in many cases. They've already had a presence. They've already got some ASINs, but Amazon's not working with them direct anymore. So to go to what you just said, Jesse, the PPP opportunity, proven product partnering, we call it. It's a module inside the Proven Amazon course where we teach this. Simply stated, it's a very simple business. You're helping these frustrated, confused brands, which there are hundreds of thousands of them, navigate the Amazon platform through Seller Central that you've become very familiar with. That's it. And there's so many of them. There's so many of them, and they're easy to find. They're so easy to find.
That's a great course. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Have you been through it?
Yeah, I had a meeting with Nathan, and before I watched like the first couple modules just to familiarize myself with it, and it was great. I mean, right away you see the opportunity, and a big point that they make that I would want to make is that you always think you don't have that much knowledge, but like you said, I mean, these brands they don't understand Amazon at all, and maybe even like a little scared of it. It's like the big bad, the necessary evil is what Nathan said.
Yep.
And, even if you're a little bit experienced with Amazon, you know more than these people most likely. So you can really use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
And
especially being part of this community, man. I mean, anything you run into.
He said he said in there to leverage that, you're part of the biggest Amazon community, over 70,000 members, and Jim Cockrum, and leverage that. I think it's a really big opportunity that's only going to get bigger and bigger as time goes on, and as Amazon keeps
You're absolutely right.
tweaking stuff.
It is. Hey, and it's fascinating to me too that there's business principles that are thousands of years old. It's Hebrew traditional business training, biblical-based principles behind all of it. But the trajectory of your business and personal growth, your business will never outgrow you. You are the ceiling, right? Your leadership, your ability to manage, that's always going to be the ceiling. But the next step of growth in your business is always going to mean you using your voice more, explaining what it is you do more, growing your network of connections. So you go from handling random items without ever having to interact with anybody as an initial business model around here. And some people do really well and kind of stay right there, but you have to grow a team and interact with them. But the next level of growth oftentimes and diversifying your income is, let's go have some conversations with brands. You find yourself stepping into more of a sales role almost. Like, hey, I want to help your company. I want to, you give me 25% of all the sales. I'm going to manage your Amazon presence.
Yeah, I definitely think that is a big part of it, and definitely the thing that I've struggled with, or I guess ignored the most, is those interpersonal relationships with other people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the business is me packing stuff in my little office, and you don't have to interact with a lot of people. It's people in the community and things like that, but not talking to business to business, and kind of just angling yourself as a business person who can provide value, which I think is really important, and what I'm trying to do going forward.
And just to encourage you, Jesse, I mean, here I'm looking at a guy who's had $80,000, $90,000 sales months on Amazon. There are thousands, tens of thousands of brands. Just knowing that alone would be willing to have a conversation with you. And never mind the fact people in our community, they would be blown away. Like, whoa, wait a second. This kid, a couple years out of college, he's done what? He's built what? And to you, it's just been like kind of a natural progression of following the steps. But to them, they're blown away and they wouldn't know. Like, keep a chart. What's that? What do you mean keep a? That's a weird word, right? To them, this is all foreign concepts. So the knowledge in your head and the value of that is far more than what you're estimating it to be, most likely. And as we kind of get you, this podcast episode, you're going to see, people tapping you on the shoulder. Hey, man, I heard your story. Hey, that was inspirational, dude. Yeah, can you show me a couple things? I'm going to see you in the Facebook group, right? So I love that kind of that leadership path that kind of organically happens in this community as we share these stories and we're having conversations about maybe getting you into the coaching team as a result of these kinds of things. And it's just, that's the way we love to do things around here. So yeah, don't underestimate the value of the knowledge in your head and the things you've accomplished in 18 months or so, man. You've built a really nice business, and it's going to take some hits here and there, and there's going to be some policy changes. And I love how it just kind of naturally rolled off your tongue. It's inch deep, mile wide. A lot of people have no idea what that means. You do. It's a vital part of your strategy in e-commerce, right? So yeah, you've picked up some good stuff. Maybe we should explain what inch deep, mile wide means, just in case there's someone who doesn't know what we're saying. When we explain that concept, it's basically diversifying your risk. You don't want to go find one great item and get all excited and go buy $10,000 worth of that item thinking, yes, I hit a jackpot. Because inevitably, as soon as you go deep, someone else is going to come along and just chop you off at the knees, bought a whole bunch more a lot cheaper, or that ASIN suddenly expires out of Amazon's catalog for some reason, right? So you just can't go too deep on any one strategy or one product as a new seller. You've got to kind of earn your stripes before you get to go deep on anything. And so we like to see people mitigate their risk to the greatest degree possible. And that's what we talk about. Going very wide, having multiple products that you're selling just a few units of each at a time. That's inch deep, mile wide.
Yeah, we were definitely doing that in the beginning. I like how you said that, like, earning your stripes, you slowly scale up on an ASIN, and when you feel more comfortable to take a little bit more risk, you've made a little bit of money on that ASIN. You go, even when we test 5 of something and then they sell right away, and we go to 10. And
Yeah,
then
you don't go to
we go to
50.
12. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't. You make it, and eventually you can get up there if you see the velocity and you're
Yep.
okay with that amount of risk. But definitely, yeah, like slowly, just it's kind of like your business. We look at each individual ASIN kind of like its own thing, and
It
you
is.
slowly scale the ASIN up, just like you slowly scale your business up.
Slow and steady wins the race every time. Tortoise and the Hare, great business book.
Yeah, the greatest business book of all time. That
That's
Nathan
right.
said it in the course. There's something I wanted to say. Something that you said at the beginning.
It'll come back to you, man. That's all right. We're just hanging out, chatting through business. I think you're inspiring a lot of people more than you realize with these shows.
Oh, that was
Okay.
what it was.
Yeah,
It
go
was
ahead.
it was like I was the same way. I remember, being at even 10,000 or when I was we made our first sale and you look at people in the group and they're, you see an 80,000 rolling 30 and you're like, oh my God, like how does anybody do
World.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get there and, the mind adjusts obviously, but yeah, it's possible, like I remember I was the same person listening and being like 80,000, like how could you do that? Even 50,000 or 30,000, it was so far, but you just develop your systems, you develop your process and you kind of just end up there. Like you just slowly just scale up and it's so slow you don't even realize like it's moving that fast and then all of a sudden you're in a good place.
Yeah. That's why I spend more time concerned with trajectory than I do current effort level, right? Or like goals, even. Like, I want to see where you were a few days ago, a few weeks ago, compared to where you are now. And I can kind of plot out a line. The speed doesn't matter. You're going to get to a really good place. The numbers, the math works really well on slow, steady growth, not taking any big, stupid risks, not making any big mistakes. The trajectory of this business is pretty incredible where you can be over, and it really doesn't matter what your starting capital is. Sometimes people are like, well, they had a big advantage. No, I give the same advice. We've had people come to us and say, well, we've only got 50,000 to put into this, man. What do you got for us? The same thing I got for a guy with $2,000. A slow and steady path forward. You're going to be selling a little bit of a bunch of products, protecting your capital, a slow ramp up, which is a very stable foundation. Because when bad things happen, you're not losing a huge chunk of your business. You're losing a few ASINs, not your whole thing. And then you start diversifying. That's just the path. That's the path that we've identified that consistently produces the minimal amount of heartbreak and the maximum amount of really exciting, great stories. So yeah, you're
Yeah,
you're doing
that's
it
it.
right, man.
Everyone goes at their own pace. I've been fortunate enough to do this full time since I started, and that is a big part of being able to scale up at the rate that we did. Just having all this time to go and find replens and pack. We do all our own packing, and that's a big part of a lot of the time that we spend is a lot of packing. We do a ton of packing. But yeah, it's everyone's going to go at their own pace. If you have a job, just set aside sourcing time and just make sure you stay consistent. Like, we were coming in every day, no matter what, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday, just working. And it can be frustrating because you're putting in all that time and then, you might not see the results right away that you want to see. You'll see some results if you're putting in a lot of work, but you might not be where you want to be, but you just got to keep your head down and keep going and you'll end up in a good place.
Hey, sorry for the interruption, but I've got to remind you that Seller Board is the sponsor for today's episode, and they're doing such a tremendous job supporting this community and this podcast. So many happy users. Many of the leaders on our team use this tool. What does it do? Well, among many other great features, it helps you know which of your products are profitable. All those Amazon fees and expenses, you can finally know exactly how much money you're making on the different products that you're selling, which ones you should be paying more attention to, and which ones you should probably cut out. Don't use your intuition or instincts to make these decisions. Use a tool that tells you the numbers. Sellerboard is very easy to set up. It's very thorough, very detailed, has a great reputation among many, many, many sellers in our community. Hundreds of us are using it. So thank you for sponsoring this community Seller Board. Jump over to silentjim.com/numbers and check out the offer they have for this community. Just a few dollars gets you started. Let's get back to today's show.
And then you might not see the results right away that you want to see. You'll see some results if you're putting in a lot of work, but you might not be where you want to be, but you just got to keep your head down and keep going and you'll end up in a good place.
Yeah, the wheel spins slowly at first. The effort
Yeah,
level
the
doesn't really change, but the
tipping
results,
point.
yeah,
Tipping
there's
point's one of my favorite like principles,
yes.
something eventually you just keep pushing uphill and eventually you're gonna know what you're doing. And
Yeah,
everything gets, infinitely easier.
you're rolling the rock downhill suddenly, and the rock's still getting bigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
this business very much is like that. Yeah.
I was just gonna say like e-commerce in general too, like not just Amazon, and that's where I'm trying to angle, myself in the future is e-commerce in general is just it's that's why I got into this in the first place with the website and everything. I was just, looking around and I'm like, that's what I want to do. Like, cause there's so much growth there. There's no way that the world's not gonna keep growing. Like I think other than clothing stores and restaurants, and I guess like furniture stores, like brick and mortar is gonna be extinct, at in 20 years or some amount of time. Like Amazon or whatever is just gonna take over. It's just too convenient, it's too easy, too many shoppers. And I remember the first conference I went to in 2023, July in Columbus. You said in the openings ceremony like that only 15% of sales are made online of like all
Mhm.
commerce sales, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
It's just so crazy, like how much Amazon does in sales and how much growth potential is
yeah,
there.
the future is bright. The game has barely begun. I've been in it for 20 years, and the game has still barely started. E-commerce, as we're recording this right now, late 2024, is still about 20%. Then it was, 15, 16. Now it's 20% of all retail activity in the United States. This is US government census data. You can look it up. You can Google what percent of retail is online in the United States. You'll see the charts I'm talking about. It's the first result. It's going to be 25, then 30, then 35, then 40. I mean, the line's going to crawl very rapidly in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So you've positioned yourself very, very well, Jesse, in an industry that has such wide open future potential and possibility. And you're exactly right. The convenience, the selection. Sometimes people can't imagine a world before Amazon. I remember when if you wanted to order something, it was going to take, I remember seeing stuff like 6 to 8 weeks delivery on stuff. It was normal. And now I've got options in many major cities and soon coming to more and more places, 2 hours. And it's on my front porch. And it's not just Amazon, it's Walmart too. So the opportunity, and other platforms, I'm sure, are going to go that direction. So the opportunity, those of us who understand how to move product, that how to select it, how to fill the shelf space with the stuff people are going to want and get it into the right place, the channel working its magic, that's what we do. Manufacturers are good at making things. Retailers are good at putting them on shelves, but getting them from point A to point B, putting some of your money in, and then kind of anticipating what customers are going to need. That skill set that we basically what we teach you. We call REPLENS. And when people say, what is it? What's REPLENS? What is that business model? I say it's filling the underserved shelf space at Amazon's hundreds of warehouses. Soon it will be filling the excess shelf space at Walmart's warehouses as well. And then who knows what else is coming. But the point is, it's an expanding opportunity, and it leads you into these great relationships, like you mentioned earlier, with brands, the opportunity to help them manage this whole shift. Just one of the biggest shifts in all of retail business activities in mankind's history is happening right now. We're living through it. And we're the ones with the skill set to help brands manage that. Yeah, so huge, bright future. And while you've been busy packing boxes and shipping stuff and building this $80,000-$90,000 a month business, what you've really been doing is, I would argue, grabbing a hold of one of the most valuable skill sets that you could possibly have to have a very secure future. Because so many directions. You can have a brand offer you, and this has happened. I've had podcast guests on the show before this has happened to. They start talking to brands, and one of these brands says, okay, here's the deal. You're good. Would you sell your business right now if someone wrote you a check? I'm like, well, I never even thought about it. Like, think about it. Get this number. He gave him a number. They bought his business and then hired him for a ridiculous amount of money to manage their brand, right? So he gave him a big check, big hiring book, and just said, help us out. And those kind of opportunities is the things that happen to people who have this skill set.
That's very interesting. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a big part of it too, is just putting yourself out there and getting in touch with people. And you never know when it's going to take you. And it's funny because when you're packing boxes, it doesn't feel like you're doing that necessarily.
You got to come up for air and the relationships. Be very intentional about it. You've heard me say this before, Jesse, and this isn't just for you, and I'm not beating you up, but hey, you're the one with a psychology degree. Back me up here. Isolation is dangerous. Like you're dealing with a patient as a psychologist, and the first thing you learn is they never have human interaction. You deal with a scary character.
Probably a big part of it. Probably a big part of the issue.
Some people do that to themselves unintentionally, maybe with their business. And they're just like, keyboard warrior. And they suddenly look around and it's been days since they've had a real conversation with a human and they're just trying to make the money and the psychological damage that's done isolating ourselves. So business is intended to be a social activity. You need other people, connections, conversations, phone calls, reaching out, masterminds, trip here and there. Come to the Proven Conference in May. You went to the one, it sounds like in Columbus. Don't miss the next one in Orlando, the last 3 days of May. Theprovenconference.com is the website. Last 3 days of May 2025. Going to have that one. Love to see you there. But this isn't just for you, Jesse. Again, this is for everyone I'm talking to. But these things matter. These are the people that make it and last.
Yeah, they definitely something that you've heard me probably talk about having I say we a lot. I've had a partner with me through the last 18 months, and recently he decided to move forward. So it's just me now. And that's kind of, we always used to harp on that too. Like we would say it to ourselves, like, oh, we got to put ourselves out there more. And then, you just, days go by and you forget about it.
Right.
Because it was easy, me and him are always in here, talking to each other about the stuff of each other. And we're, in the business grind together. And, we had been best friends since, we were 14. So, we just know each other so well. And we were like, on this journey together. And it was easy to isolate, ourselves, because it's not just you. But now that it is only me, definitely something that I'm going to pay more attention to and put more effort into cultivating relationships with not just, brands that are for business purposes, but people in the community. I've already been reaching out. I've had like 3 Zoom meetings this week with people from the community that I met at the 2023 conference.
Yep.
Or, just people that I wanted to reach out and see how they were doing that are in the community. And it's really, it right away, it makes you feel more connected, more motivated in what you're doing.
Yeah.
and that you feel like you can keep going. Because I was pretty discouraged after the most recent policy change. It's just tough to take a hit like that when you feel like things are rolling. But the more time goes on, I learned that that's just the nature
Yeah.
of
And
this
it
business
presents
a little bit.
opportunity too. It
Yeah,
presents you.
yeah,
That's the
for
thing you
sure.
learn. To learn that at the youngest stage possible, that every challenge, every smack in the face, every time your legs get chopped out, actually what's happened once you're able to process it and kind of stand back up again is there's new opportunities. It made something possible that wasn't possible before every single time. There's something new that's possible now because the shoppers, especially with Amazon, the fact is the shoppers didn't go anywhere. The shoppers are going to go looking for those products like, hey, they're not here. They're going to buy something else instead. What are they going to buy instead? Who's going to put that there under their nose now? Right. So when Amazon kind of cleans out some catalog, like there's a hole there that all the customers are staring into. Someone's got to go fill it. Right. So the opportunity it's there for the taking.
Yeah, definitely. We found this out. We found out about the policy, and we figured it all out on like a Friday. And
Mhm.
I said to myself, like, all right, like I have the weekend to feel bad about it a little bit, or feel a little down, and Monday morning come into the office, and I'm gonna figure it out. And I
Yes.
think just I remember you said before a quote that you said that I really liked was like, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And I think really this business, just business in general over the last, however long it's been, has really just made me better in like things like that, like just recoil time of like when bad things happen. And it's like, just pick
Mm.
yourself up and keep going and figure it out, and it's all going to work out. And just this business in general has really helped me in my personal, goals and things like that, just getting better as a person on top of it, because
Yeah.
it's tough to run a business. It's tough
It
to
is.
grow a business,
It
and
is
you
for
you
everyone, for
learn.
anyone. There's no easy
Yeah.
businesses out there. Those don't exist.
Yeah, yeah. My
Forrest Gump is fiction. It's a great movie, but it's total fiction. It's total baloney. You don't just stumble into multi-million dollar opportunity after opportunity. Just gonna, oh, then on one day I started playing ping pong. And now he's a millionaire. Actually makes his own whatever. Right? It's like, no, the real world, it's work, man. You're reminding me of a quote. I think it's a Jim Rohn quote. I'm pretty sure it is. What
Love
he
Jim
said.
Rohn.
So you've maybe heard this one confirmed, but it's something like, set out to be a millionaire. Everyone should try to be a millionaire. Not so you can have $1 million. That's a nice side benefit. Because you're going to have to do all the things that it takes. And you're
You're
going
gonna
to
have to
be a
become the
much better
person.
person. Right.
You have to become the person who can make $1 million.
Exactly. And becoming the person who can make $1 million is no joke. Like, that's a journey, man. You're going to be working on yourself a lot. And I love that. I love that thought. Hey, I've always seen business as, almost like it's a character test. It's a personal development. It's a leadership test. It's a leadership journey. That's what I've come to think of it as. And as soon as you stop growing as a leader, as soon as your character finds its limits, that's the limit on your business. Which is why I have a lot of respect for people who have built and sustained successful businesses over a long period of time. And the secret sauce of this organization, I mean, we've been in e-commerce coaching longer than any company in the world. It blows my mind to say it, but 22 years of e-commerce coaching. And the only qualification we've ever had for our coaches, we've had 150 come through our organization. We got 60 or so on the team right now, over 22 years. It's been the same qualifications from day one based on that principle. If all I know about you is you've built a successful business and sustained it over a significant period of time, that's all I know. I don't know your gender. I don't know your worldview. I don't know if you own pets, if you went to college, you still live at home in a basement with your parents. I don't know any of that. I don't care. You built a successful business over a significant period of time and you sustained it. I don't care about anything else. You are one of the safest bets I could make to bring you onto my team because of what goes into making something like that happen, right? So our interview process is pretty short and sweet. How's business? How's it been going? How many of these challenges you had to overcome is something I shared with you before we hit the record today. Have you had your legs chopped out from underneath you yet? And the right answer on that one is, oh yeah. Because if that hasn't happened yet, you're not a leader with a limp yet. We can't necessarily use you around here because of some of the character qualities you're going to lack. And I've learned that one the hard way over time as well. But Yeah, you're on a great journey, man. You built a beautiful business, and I'm very impressed. You got a very mature. I mean, I would have guessed that you had more years of experience if you hadn't told me then, just based on your answers and how much you've absorbed of the great
Thank
lesson.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it is funny. You come into I remember when I first started the website, and you think I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be making this amount of money in the next
Right.
3 months. Like you're bright eyed and bushy tailed, and
Mhm.
you just think you're gonna conquer the world. And one of my favorite business principles is like it's like the 5 stages of success. And the first stage is called uninformed optimism. And
Ooh,
it's that stage where you see the shiny object and you're like,
yep.
"Oh, I can do that," because
Yeah,
you don't
that's
know
easy.
all the things that go into it.
Uh-huh.
And then it's, informed pessimism. It's because you get in and you're like, "Oh, like, there's actually work here. Like, I have
Right.
to work
But
really
it's parts
hard
of
and I
this
have
I
to
don't
learn
like.
things."
I'm
Yeah,
going to go
yeah.
back to step one
Yeah, like, and
with a different
that's what
opportunity.
happens
And that's what
is,
most people on the
people
internet do,
keep
to be honest.
yeah, keep
It's this
going
loop
on
of
in
step one to step
cycles.
two.
Yes, yes, for sure. And then the next step after informed pessimism is informed optimism, because then you can look at it and be like, all right, there's some pitfalls here, but I can make this work if I follow it and I keep going. Like
Mhm.
I know what I'm doing now. I know how I can figure it out. And then yeah, it's just really a it's a lot of that. Just I forget why I made that point, but
It's phenomenal. And I'd like to think instantly when I heard that example that you gave me, what we do here is we help people go from step one to step three of what you just mentioned,
yeah,
right? Because they're like, oh, I'm informed now and this isn't what I thought of. I think I'm going to go do something else now. It's like, no, let's skip that step. Hang in there, buddy. Step three, informed optimism. I love that. Like, okay, the challenges are there, but I know how to face them. And here's all these other people who have faced them. That's why we do this podcast, is to get people to stage three of what you just described. They come in informed optimism, like, oh yeah, all I got to do is throw some money at this thing and hit a couple buttons and turn it on, right? Like, no, it's not what we do here, but it's doable. And we get them to step three, the system you just described, informed optimism. That's a great phrase.
yeah.
And you got the
It's
psychology degree, man. You picked up some good stuff. You've read some good books, man. Do you know who came up with that?
His name's actually Alex Hormozy. He's
Oh,
like,
sure. I know Alex.
yeah, yeah. I think step three is the valley of despair, which he describes as like you're doing this
Right.
thing for a while and you're not seeing results yet, and you start to get really
Makes sense.
discouraged.
There's
And
a
then step
gap there.
four is informed optimism, and then step
Right.
five is like achievement.
Yeah, you're
Um,
there with a very realistic
yeah,
outlook, and this all could go away if you make a big mistake, and you're cautious, but you're growing, right? Whatever that step five is, right? It's kind of a mature business owner, realistic. You can smell a scam from a mile away at that point. You don't have shiny object syndrome anymore. I think it's like you're a true leader. You are an entrepreneur, a capital E at that point, right? Yeah,
yeah.
makes total sense to me.
I
Yeah,
really
Alex is
like.
brilliant.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, just following guys like that, and the community. It's funny, like when you first join the community, like you're like like a role model, and you're kind of like you look up to you and what you've done, and Nathan and Grant, and then the difference in the community here that's really great is just hop on a phone call with one of them, and or
Yeah,
chat them on Facebook. I read Jimmy Smith's book, and then a couple months later, I'm messaging him on Facebook asking questions, and it's just really great being able to connect with the leaders of
yeah.
the
We're
people
business
that are
building
doing
warriors.
the
Yeah.
people that are doing what you want to do in the
Yep.
future.
So we don't see each other as competitors. Yeah, it's one of the foundational concepts of this community is the people coming in the door are not our competition. As soon as you realize that they're there to make my life and business better, ultimately, I'll spend a few minutes, a little bit of my time, a couple hours here and there, throw some content, get on the phone call, because they're going to turn into a Jesse McDermott who builds a beautiful business, comes back and teaches us things that we didn't know. So we're investing in our own future by investing in the people coming in the door. We've always had that philosophy, and it's paid off. That's why we've sustained as long as we have, and there's no ego allowed around here. You want to get a good laugh out of the team around here, come in there trying to impress us. I'm like, this guy thinks he's going to impress us. He just hasn't gotten hit in the face with a 2x4.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
his problem. Like, yeah, get back to us, when everything gets chopped in
When you
half
got a limp.
because You didn't dot an I or cross a T, right? Like come back when you got a limp, right?
Yeah.
So you got a leadership team that's been through the trenches, been doing it a while, very realistic, no ego, here to truly help and serve. And that's a great place to be. What the visual I like to tell people of I think we've built sometimes is a platform that anyone can jump on. There's only one qualification. Anyone can jump up and talk to all of us. There's one qualification. You got to prove that you've actually accomplished something over a significant period of time. And then we want to hear that story. We want you to talk to us. Right? You don't have to be better or smarter than anybody else in the room. Just like, tell us about your achievement. What'd you learn? What can you teach us? And as we've done that together, man, it's become a pretty special community. And
definitely.
I like calling myself Silent Jim too. I mean, I'm doing a lot of talking on the podcast, but for the most part, I'm just here to learn, dude. My ideal scenario is I don't even show up. I just get to sit back and consume the content that was created in this incredible community and grow my business. Right? I don't have this need to be at the center of anything. That's when learn and grow with everyone else. And I think that's what we've got, man.
Yeah, definitely. The conference that we went to was really great in that way. Just everyone just willing to teach and share what they're doing, what works, what doesn't in their eyes. Yeah, it's just really fun. I don't know if you remember, but me and you tore up the basketball court. If you remember
Oh,
that.
did you play some hoops with us, man?
Yeah, I played hoops. Me and you were on the same team, and we were doing real well. I just kept setting picks for you and hitting you in the corner. You were knocking down threes. We won a couple games.
That's my game, man. You're trying to get
Yeah,
me
you were good. That was like the first time I met you. I remember I just went up to you on the court, and you were just me and Noah walked in, and we didn't know what it was going to be like. Like we thought maybe it was going to be knockout or people just shooting around. Like we didn't think it was going to be like, because me and him play a lot of basketball. We didn't think it was going to be fives full court. Yeah. And we walked in, and right away you looked at me and went, "You ready? We need one." And I was like, "Yeah, like all right, let's go." And we played like 6 games, and it was so much fun.
It was great. Yeah, we got some ballers in the community.
Yeah, I was
still play,
surprised
man.
that
I'm
people
in
were.
Indiana. Like,
Yeah, you told me that.
John Wooden coached the high school I attended about 15 minutes that way from where I'm sitting, right? That's where I went to high school and played ball. So yeah, it's in my blood, dude. You can't get away from it here. It's great, man. Yeah, and I apologize. I don't remember, man. It's just so many people, so many faces.
No, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
That's awesome, and I love.
That was the first time I met you, and you actually told me that day, which is probably a year and a half ago now. You said like, "Oh, let's get you on the podcast." But here we finally are. Beautiful. Yeah, I love basketball. I actually have a game tonight in like a men's league.
Nice. Yeah. I've loved the game. I've learned a lot of life lessons from it. John Wooden is another great mentor, man. Talking about good leaders to learn from. He's his principles have been foundational in my business and life success. John Wooden. Look up. Have you ever read anything of Coach Wooden's?
I don't think so.
Yeah, look him up. Do you know who he is?
No. Basketball coach, I'm assuming.
Arguably, I mean, if you had, let's say you made a list of the height of all sports, all time periods, all the way back through history, and you had to make a list of, say, top 5 best coaches in their sport, you'd have to put him on the list. And it's been a while back, but he won, the NCAA basketball championships, in the U.S. Big deal, bracket of 64. Everyone picks their brackets, right? Imagine if there was a coach that won 8 out of 9 years the national championship. That was Coach Wooden, UCLA.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You read it, and it was highly competitive. I mean, and he turned pretty average players into a team, and the principles that he used to do that are great life lessons. It's all biblically grounded, sound stuff. He was a solid Christian and just studied leadership and character. And he would say things like, the score at the end of a game is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. We're going to win a lot of games, don't get me wrong, and we're here to win, but the score doesn't matter. Because what I'm going to do is get the absolute maximum level of commitment to the system out of my players, maximum effort, and then the score doesn't matter. I'm not even going to look at the score. I'm going to be looking at the effort level of the guys on the floor. That's what matters, and their commitment and knowledge of the system that we've established. And then he would just beat everybody. And his team loved him.
Yeah, just a product of that mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful. So that just that commitment, that drive, how much character matters, how much who you are when no one's looking, how much that matters in your ultimate success. Those kinds of things, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You got me side railed a little bit, man. Don't get me talking
Yeah,
about
sorry.
coaching. It's a dangerous topic for me.
Yeah, I feel like I jumped around a lot with different, things in my experience. Do you have anything else that you would want to hear about or
Yeah.
questions?
The only thing I would say, if there was anything else that you were really wanting to get off your mind or like speak out to the listeners today, anything that you had on the list or like, I really wanted to get to this, this is your chance because we are going to wrap this one up pretty soon. But, and you've been a great guest. I think people are going to pick up way more than you anticipate from this.
I appreciate it. I definitely, I'm happy to share. I want to help people, get started. And what I would say, the main things that I'm feeling right now in my business is diversification and making sure you're ready when you say, you get hit by the 2x4. Because if you're diversified and you have a couple streams of income, or in this, if you're just starting like different ASINs, it's just really important, feeling secure and just feeling when something bad does happen or an ASIN tanks or gets deleted off the catalog, you still feel like you can move forward and feel confident that you can bounce back from that. And then really just, just what we were talking about with your how you do anything is how you do everything. I think that's really the main thing that's allowed me to do well in business is over the last 2 years, I just improved myself a lot, and it's kind of gone hand in hand, like with the business. The better you get with different things, exercise, habits, eating, like anything like that that you think might not be important to the numbers you're doing and the business you're building, but it is in an indirect way. It's just so important, and you'll feel better. You'll want to be more successful, and then in turn you will be. Other than that, I think that's what I would want to say.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff, man. And there was some profound wisdom in that last thing that you just said. It's actually vital. My friend Rabbi Daniel Lappin, who I reference frequently on the show, he talks about that being a holistic means working on faith, family, friendship, fitness, and finance, the 5 Fs, right? And if you think I'm just going to focus on one and ignore the others, the one you're focusing on is going to crumble. And the opposite's also true. An opposite principle or similar principle is if you're working on 2 or 3 of them and you're really developing them, the other 2 are going to kind of come along for the ride and benefit quite often. But you can't ignore any of them, or the others are going to suffer. So yeah, just being it's called the holistic approach to life. If things are really struggling in your family, it's going to impact business. If you're getting healthier, you're going to have better friends, right? Like all these kind of connect. So if you can work on all of them and build your life in such a way that you don't lose track of any of those things, you're going to have the best version of a beautiful life possible. But if you can get away with ignoring 1 or 2 of them and just focus on the other, like, nah, you're going to suffer. It's a cool principle. It really is. And he wrote a whole book about it, The Holistic You by Rabbi Daniel Lappin. It's a good book. It's his latest book. I'm actually in talks with him about helping him build out a coaching program and that sort of thing around these concepts as well, which we may hear more about in the near future. But yeah, there's some profound wisdom in what you just said. The way you eat, exercise, health is tied to money. Absolutely it is, dude. Absolutely it
Yeah, and
is.
it's hard to believe that. It
Mhm.
seems like it wouldn't. Yeah, because honestly, in the past, I have fell into that way of thinking where it's like, I'm gonna work super hard on the business and everything else might suffer a little bit, but that's okay. I might not go to the gym because I really want to work harder on the business, and you just realize like after a certain amount of time that you're getting less out of yourself because you don't feel as great. So yeah, just making sure. I like that the way you said that because just you got to focus on all of them, or the one you're focusing on will eventually suffer as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't live out of balance very long, man. It's not sustainable, one of my favorite words. Yeah, it builds sustainable patterns and habits into your life. Oh, this is good stuff, buddy. I think we spoke deeply to some folks and challenged them, and it's really good hanging out with you today. I appreciate it, man.
It's great to be here, man. I really appreciate it. Finally, got to do this, and hopefully, people get something out of it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. And for the listeners who hung out with Jesse and I today, let me just talk to you for a second. If this was one of the first episodes that you heard of our podcast, I would strongly encourage you scroll back in time. We've got dozens of recent episodes where we've done interviews like this, hundreds of episodes where we've interviewed successful students from the Proven Amazon course from our coaching program. And as you can tell, we get real. We don't edit out the bad stuff. We talk about all of it around here, and we'd love for you to become part of our community. But homework assignment, if you're new around here, listen to some episodes and see what resonates with you. And if you want to get serious about building an e-commerce business, we'd love to be part of your journey. Go to silentjim.com and you can see all kinds of resources. Let me just point one out to you. If you go to silentjim.com/book-a-call, that puts you on our schedule to have a conversation with someone on our team that can talk about where you are right now, where you're trying to go in e-commerce, and build a path to help you get there. We'd love to be part of your journey. Like I said, we'll have another great episode for you very soon. Thanks for hanging out with Jesse and I today. And God bless the business building warriors. Thanks for being the best part of our show. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for listening today. One last shout out to today's incredible sponsor, Seller Board. You can go check them out at silentjim.com/numbers. And if you don't know what they do, here's a quick reminder. They help you know which of your listings on Amazon are profitable. Which products should you cut out of your inventory? Which ones should you maybe go a little deeper? It's not an instinct-based decision when you're thinking about your inventory. Use a tool that can help you make really good decisions. They have a whole bunch of other cool features as well. Get over to silentjim.com/numbers and find out more. Thank you, Seller Board. We'll have another great episode for you very soon.